Now we're going to move along and take care of customizing the product information section, in which you have a heading, an H2, and that includes 2 thumbnails that we're going to create during this lecture. One quick note about the layout. So here we have a div container. So that's an entire div with a class of container that includes 2 divs with 6 columns in each. So one div for the product information and another div for the photo gallery on the right. So let's look at the code now. So here we have our div container, and this is where it's ending. And this one wraps a div with a class of row, which itself includes 2 divs with 6 columns in each. And this is where it ends, and there starts the other div with 6 columns for the photo gallery. Let's have a look at the first div. So that's going to be the div that we're going to customize for this lecture. So first we have the first div with 4 columns and the second one with 4 columns as well. And we can see that we have offset classes that are used to add margin to the left. So let's remove them to see the difference in the look of the design. So back in the browser, we're going to reload the page, and now we can see that they are completely flushed to the left. So we're going to revert back to the original because we definitely need some space between the 2 divs, and we're going to look at the images now. And we're going to notice that now we use placeholders in lieu of actual media or images, and this is something that you can use the same way that you'd use lorem ipsum instead of actual content. So when you don't yet have images, that's a good way to imagine where you'd place your images by using placeholders. So you can learn about it by going on their website. So back to our design, we're going to reload the page and back to the previous layout. So the first thing we're going to do is to center this text. So the title with the paragraph. And for that, we're going to use an alignment class. So that's going to be text center. We're going to save, and back to our design, we're going to reload the page. Here we go. So now we have our text, which is nicely centered. We have the feeling that this content is not centered compared to the image, and that's because the image is actually bigger than the actual container, the div itself. And we can check this out by using the inspector tool. And inside the inspector tool, so by locating the right element, so here we have the caption, we can notice that the width, the actual width of the caption, and the parent div, which is the div for the content, everything, is actually smaller than the images, and we can see that we have the less margin also on the left, and some padding also inside. And this will be arranged as soon as we create the thumbnail, so this is coming next. And now we're going to repeat the same process by copying text center and apply it to the next div, the second one also, because we need the content of the second div to be centered as well. Here we go. We have now 2 similar divs. We still need more customization. So next we're going to take care of those learn more links, and we're going to turn them into buttons. So here is the learn more links inside our source code. And we're going to find the CSS classes for the style button. So in the CSS Bootstrap documentation, so here it is, we have all the different options. And we're looking at this final design. So the warning button seems to be the right option, so we're going to copy everything here, so including the type, attribute, and the 2 classes. And back to our design, we're going to reload the page, and here it is, perfect. So we have nice looking buttons. And we also want to add this nice gray border, so that definitely looks more fancy. We're going to visit the components page on the Bootstrap site and look for the thumbnails. So further down, and we're going to go to custom content. So here is our thumbnail example. Here we can recognize the div for the caption, and the button right under, and also the thumbnail that wraps everything. So in order to complete our design, we're going to need to copy this class, thumbnail, and add it to our div on our HTML document. So inside the parent div, you're going to paste the same class, which is thumbnail. We're going to copy and paste. Then reload the page, and here it is. So now you have two nice thumbnails for the product information. One last touch, but that's for the title this time, which is a heading. More specifically, this is an H2. So we're going to look in the source code. So this is the element that we want to target. On the Bootstrap site, go to the CSS page and look for helper classes. Then go to contextual background. So here it is. Here you have an example of a nice green background. So this is what we want to reproduce. And for that, we're going to copy the corresponding class, which is background success, bg-success. An additional class will allow to align this text in the middle of the div. So back to see the template now in the browser. So here it is. So now we have our H2, which is centered with a nice green background. So this is looking good. There is a slight difference with the final design. So we have a little bit of padding around the H2 here, so top and bottom. So we can add this custom style ourselves in our document. So inside custom.css, we're going to add the selector H2, and then we're going to add padding. And what I'd like to do is to add 1% of padding, top and bottom, and we're going to leave it as 0 for left and right. Then reload the page, and here it is. So now we have a nice padding, top and bottom. Another thing we want to do is add some space between the H2 and the content below. So for that, we're going to add a margin button, and we're going to write 1.5 EM. EM, which is a relative unit of measurement, just like percentages, which is better to use when you work with responsive design. So elements will scale with the various media queries and so forth. So after adding some margin, so let's look. And perfect, so now we have some room between the heading and the content below, so that certainly looks better. So next lecture, we're going to take care of the photo gallery, so see you then.